chain bridge has a fascinating history. What people don't really realise is that there's been 3 chain bridges on the site. The first bridge was built in 1817 by a local entrepreneur called Ex-Superius Pickering.
Ex-Superius Pickering had got a contract for 21 years to sell all the coal from Claskinniston and Kevnmawr.
And he saw an opportunity to use the newly built canal by Thomas Telford to transport his coal by barge and go up to the A5 to transport his coal down the Dee Valley.
So the idea was, how about a bridge across there? We could also skip the tolls, take us through Llangollen.
So what Pickering did was built a bridge that looks very different to the bridge that we see today. It was a rickety wooden bridge. It was 8 oak posts on the rock on the bottom of the riverbed. Then he split timbers in half, laid them on top, and then put stone on the top of that and compacted it down. Pickering did something quite unique. Underneath that wooden deck, he put a series of chain links going from one side of the bank to the other. And this was quite revolutionary for the time.
I think when you look at the earliest photographs, you would say it looks pretty Heath Robinson and bits of this and bits of that. But actually, if you go back to the French engineer who saw it in 1819 and wrote a report and drew a diagram of it, actually it does make a lot more sense. It isn't a standard suspension bridge, and it really was a rather unique bridge, with the chains being underneath the deck of the bridge and not in their usual catenary shape. It could be called an underslung suspension bridge, or it could be called a fish belly bridge. I'm sure that the stresses on the chains were quite significant, and there must have been a lot of tension on the chains to actually hold the deck up. So I think Ex-Superius Pickering probably thought, how can I do this bridge at the cheapest possible way so I can get my carts and wagons of coal and what have you across the river without having to pay a toll to go, or going all the way down to Llangollen.
The bridge lasted. It lasted about 50 years, and when you see images of the bridge, it looks like it would barely last a year or two, but 50 years is how long it lasted, and I think that's because of the chain links underneath it that gave that rickety looking bridge its great stability.
And obviously in the location where the bridge is, it's probably suffered an awful lot of battering by quite deep and fast flowing floods. So that's why the pictures look a bit sad.
In the 1870s, the bridge was coming to the end of its life. The opportunity to redevelop the whole area came when the railway came to the area. Henry Robertson was the engineer who brought the railway down the valley.
Henry Robertson was a senior figure in the railways, and he had a habit of buying up all the land where the railway was going to go, so he could sort of say, well, this land is very good for your railway, why not run it over that?
He redeveloped the Chainbridge Hotel into what we see today.
When the Chainbridge Hotel was opened, the speech was made by Maurice Henry Roberts, who built the hotel, saying that Henry Robertson was going to repair and rebuild the Chain Bridge.
And what he did was develop that whole area into a sort of tourist attraction, really. It now became a pedestrian bridge rather than in Pickering's time, when it was used to transport coal and other goods across the River Dee.
When you see the reconstruction of the bridge by Henry Robinson, it looks like a coherent structure. He's, by the look of it, reworked the chains in their existing position. He may have improved the supports, the oak posts into the rock in the river, and he probably had to remake the side railings stroke stiffening girder.
That bridge lasted till one evening in February 1928, when unfortunately it was washed away by floods. Luckily for us, the chain links survived. Henry Robertson had reused the chain links from Pickering's bridge underneath his own bridge. So all of the sort of timber and wood was washed away, but thankfully the chain links stayed in place, they did their job.
The land and the bridge presumably still was owned by, well, not Henry Robertson because he was dead, but his son, which was Henry Bayer Robertson, and they also owned Brimbo Steelworks. So he decided he would repair the bridge, and he's got all these apprentices and trainees at Brimbo, so he uses it as a sort of project to keep them occupied.
He redesigned the bridge into the suspension bridge that we see today, and he did this to ensure that the bridge wasn't liable to damage from flood again. He removed the piers that were in the riverbed, which created a dam when the river flooded in 1928.
It's obviously a more stable and stronger design because it's already in a curve, so you hang the bridge on it, whereas with the underslung arrangement you're trying to keep the chain or cable horizontal with the load moving along it, so it's difficult to control the amount of sag.
And what he did was he reused his father's chain links to create the suspension cables that hold the bridge up, as well as having two underneath the deck as well, harking back to what Pickering and his father had done years before.
Certainly the institution have acknowledged that they are probably the oldest suspension chains still in use.
The bridge had been neglected for many, many years, and it was officially closed in the mid-1980s, although people still walked onto the bridge well into the 90s before it was actually finally boarded off to access. But during that time, a lot of parts of the decking and stuff were missing, so it was quite a treacherous walk across, really.
The main thing with the chains was where they connected to the catenary. They were rotten through on one side. They were completely gone. So yeah, I don't think it would have lasted much longer.
The first part of doing the restoration was actually to create a numbering system. We needed to ensure that what we took away went back in the same place that it came from, and so each chain and everything got an individual unique number which was attached to them before the work to dismantle it took place.
We made up our labelling system, and then we were able to take all the link and link plates off. Then it was a fairly straightforward job once it was stripped down.
There had been many years of paint and things that had gone onto the bridge, but also rust and things had developed as well. So taking the pins out that held the links together was something I think that was quite tricky and took some time, but it was a case of just taking the pins out and dismantling it.
A lot of the pins were completely rusted into the slots, and it was just impossible to move, and we had to grind the top and bottom off to enable us to get the plate out. We removed the top links with the three together because there's a connecting pin in the middle of those links which connect the links together permanently. It was a much easier task to take the whole of that section out in one go.
I was here the quite momentous day really, our first true freight train really for many years, in 40-50 years, when the bridge components were dismantled, brought onto the station, loaded onto one of our steam trains and taken down to Llangollen.
The bridge obviously is located over the Dee next to the steam train, and to get all those links away to the workshop to get worked on was something that we needed to think about, and the Llangollen Railway obliged us with the provision of a steam train to take them away, so that was fantastic.
Strong gentlemen brought the chains up to the platform where they were loaded onto temporary supports, and then we brought a train up specially hauled by 5199R, recently restored prairie tank, and they were loaded into a wagon and off they went.
We did have a good time doing it, and you know, meeting the station master and meeting the other guys on the railway and that.
And as you say, it was a very cool day really, so it was quite spectacular with the steam effects, of course, the train departing up the valley. Everything went off very well, I think.
The chain links were made of wrought iron, and over the years some of them had started to sort of separate, the layers had started to separate, so those were the ones that needed to be replaced, which Harry then did at the workshop. He created some new links.
We decided to make an adjustable jig, which was nice and easy to adjust for each individual link. Got the forge going and then just went about making the links.
The restoration was always about trying to maintain as much of the original bridge as possible and only putting new bits in where was necessary.
There was 32 new links manufactured to go back into the bridge. It's around about a third of the total amount of links.
They then went for painting. They all had to every single piece of the bridge had to be painted with a paint that will hopefully last for about sort of 10 years. So we don't become like the Forth Bridge where we have to keep painting it every year. And it was always amazing to see how quick it went back. And they put the chain links together and then sort of winched it across the Dee, so it actually went back incredibly quickly.
Obviously the focus was on you know, trying to winch them back in and keeping them in as best condition as what we could, you know. Especially for the wet span chains, which were all three together. It was extremely difficult trying to keep those chains up and trying to stop them from touching anything. We were restricted for room, but we did struggle, and there was some touching up to be done on those top chains. It was just a very simple process for the deck chains. We just had ropes on shackles onto the wire ropes tied around the deck chain to stop them from falling anywhere, and we were able to just let the shackle slide along the wire rope. That was a nice easy part of the job. The process on the tie rods and the diagonal tie rods was a mark out job. You know, basically take do as much measuring as we could and make them up in the workshop and hope they fit when we get them down there. We were back then to the roped access, and they did a great job. It was a fairly easy, straightforward job of just sliding them through the plates and brackets on the bottom chains, and it was quite easy to go across them with all the vertical ones and then put all the diagonal ones in after. It was an easier job to do than first anticipated, you know.
And then once the sort of links and everything were in place, it was putting down the new decking and sort of the finishing touches, really.
I'd sourced a local, he's a cabinet maker actually, a really good chap who I've used before. You know, he did a really nice job, did an intricate job on the bearers, and once they were all in, we made some more jigs up to get the width of the bridge exactly right, and started installing the deck planks and working our way across the river, really, one by one. And
it was a wonderful day, and it was amazing to see so many people turn up to walk across the bridge.
Our bridge opening was great, really nice to see so many people turning up and enjoying going across it, really. It was fantastic, it was a good feeling.
The amount of people that have written to us telling us how much they've enjoyed walking across, that it's wonderful to see it open again, has been wonderful. It's made the project worthwhile.
Right, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the refurbished Chain Bridge.
It is not the biggest bridge over the River Dee. History proves that it has not been the strongest bridge over the River Dee. It has been neglected in the past. It has been swept away, but it has been rebuilt.
At the end of the day, a closed bridge has no purpose. A bridge has to be used. It has a function. So to actually see people using the bridge again it's great. The bridge is back to life now, and that's fantastic.